Hi everyone, my name is Zaim Salimun. I'm a social media activist and a representative of BDS Malaysia.
Woi! Dey!
Ele.
Is originally from Malaysia. That is absolutely wrong because BDS Malaysia is just a chapter of BDS National Committee. It is actually a Palestinian-led organization. We include like 170 Palestinian civil societies, and these civil societies basically set the guideline for us, like chapters worldwide, to follow, like to know which companies or what kind of action that we should take to execute what BDS stand for. A lot of people assume that it started during the genocide, which is very wrong. It started long time ago with three clear purposes. First, we want to end the occupation of Palestine. We want Israel to stop the occupation from the West Bank to Gaza. Even like they said they withdrew from Gaza in 2006, for example. They actually put blockade around Gaza. That is not like, ending of the occupation. Yeah. So that's the first purpose of BDS, like to end the occupation. Secondly, we know that, from the river to the sea, the area from the river to the sea, a lot of Palestinian citizens of Israel, or basically Arabs, they don't have equal right like what the Jewish citizens do. A lot of them have trouble buying houses, buying land, and they're not even treated like as human beings in most cases. Yeah. So BDS want to work on that. Like, we want to encourage people to realize that this is not right. Yeah. If you are supporting freedom, like, we should promote equal right, obviously. And lastly, BDS, our main target is also to promote the right of return of Palestinians. When the Nakba happened in 1948, like a huge number of Palestinians, they actually had to leave their home in the modern day Israel, which is like the 1948 territories. A lot of Palestinians, they had to leave their houses in Tel Aviv, which was called Jaffa, and then a lot of them had to leave Haifa. A lot of them had to leave Baitul Maqdis itself, which is like Jerusalem. So we want them to be able to return to modern day Israel, or even the diaspora of Palestinian, like in America or in Canada or in Europe or all over the world, to be able to return to at least West Bank and to live normally where their grandmothers or grandfathers used to live back then. So that's basically the history of BDS. Basically, BDS National Committee, I think they are actually doing the research part. We are just following the list that they give us. Yeah, like there are certain companies in Malaysia that probably have ties with Israel. BDS National Committee might advise us to make a statement to even amplify our situation here to the broader BDS National Committee audience. Like when apartheid happened back then, South Africa was actually boycotted. Like, they were not allowed to participate in the Olympics for many years, and people stopped doing business with South Africa. Eventually, because of that, the apartheid system became too costly for the white-oriented government to sustain, and eventually the apartheid government in South Africa was abolished. I think it's just a perception. Like, if you are actually following Palestinians from the ground, like Palestinian in Gaza, you will realize that they're actually getting more and more support. And then you can see the movement is getting stronger. Like last week, I think European government, they are starting to making statements like they are trying to threaten Israel, to start putting sanction and all that. And then I think even the mainstream liberal media are starting to correct the framing of the situation. They're actively using active voice, Israel kill instead of Palestinian being murdered. They're starting to highlight that, I also want to highlight like a lot of celebrities, they are starting to be brave enough to shift their tone and actually speak up. Like something that I thought was quite remarkable was recently Imagine Dragon. They waved Palestinian flag after their concert in Milan was over. This was something quite huge to me because previously Imagine Dragon, they refused to comply to BDS call to boycott or no, to cancel their concert in Tel Aviv. I think people are quite desensitized, to be honest, like because Israel keep killing Palestinian every day. People start to, you know, like have activism fatigue. Like they start to feel exhausted to, you know, keep sharing, keep talking. But I think they are still actively boycotting. And I can see from my posts on Palestine, they're still being shared by a lot of people. And people just, you know, silently hating Israel at the moment. Like, they maybe don't talk about it as much, but they just will never forget what Israel did throughout, like, 19 months of genocide. I got a call from Live M, and then they asked me about Bruno Mars, whether we should support his concert here or not. And then knowing that he actually proceeded with his concert in Tel Aviv on a venue that was actually a Palestinian village, was basically asking Bruno Mars to speak up. Like, if you look at my post, like last year, I basically do not want celebrities to be quiet about this. Like, even Bruno Mars, he's a very powerful influencer. Like, he's a celebrity, so naturally he's just an influencer as well. And his silence is just deafening. Like, and sadly, even after my call for him to speak up went viral, it was actually shared for 22,000 times on Instagram. And I think it was one of the most viewed videos on Fly FM accounts as well. It's about like, are you feeling okay with like witnessing children being killed? Are you like at peace whenever you see pregnant mothers being bulldozed? Are you like happy, you know, when people's houses are being bombed? Like, it's no longer about my interest in Bruno Mars songs. Like, it's much bigger than that. Yeah, it's just disappointing as a fan. Actually, if you look at the data from 2024, the debt to GDP ratio in Israel is actually increasing. Like, it increased by, I would say, 7.7%. It was previously 61.3%, and 2024 it became 69%. So basically, the government of Israel, the Ministry of Finance, they are trying to reduce the debt to GDP ratio. They don't want the ratio to become 71%, because if it goes to 71% because of the war, they predict if the war continues, the debt to GDP ratio will increase to that amount, and the economy of Israel can actually be in danger. Yeah. And then we also have to take note of the deficit in the budget of the Israeli economy. Like, for your information, I think if I'm not mistaken, like last year the deficit goes from 5% to 6.9%. Yeah, so this is actually not good. And if the wars continue with, the expenses on military spending is already, I think is 100 billion Israeli shekel, which is like 30 billion US dollar. That's the military expenses. And this is actually very bad for Israeli economy, because they are spending a lot of money on, killing people, which is like crazy and like pointless. Alhamdulillah, like thank God, like in Malaysia, our government is very pro-Palestine. It's just that I recall, like, there was one time some of my fellow activists, they were called to Balai Police. They were being questioned for a certain God knows what reason. But BDS, we always comply with the local law. We follow the Peaceful Assembly Act. So we never really face any resistance from the government. Yeah, like any real resistance or, you know, any bad things from the government. Because the government basically obviously support Palestine. But it's just that I can say like what happened, there are other activists outside BDS who went protesting outside US Embassy for example. And I heard stories like they were being escorted by the police to Balai Police. And they were also questioned. Yeah. So this is kind of like, you know, threatening and saddening to me. Like, you know, these people are protesting against genocide, but somehow, you know, they're being questioned, which is like, you know, not really pleasant experience for these people to encounter. But the main question is not about the government in Malaysia, I would say. It's about like, what will happen if you travel outside? Yeah, because actually I know a fellow BDS EXCO member who was actually detained in border control in Singapore. Yeah, I was actually asked to go to some special room in South Korea, like for God knows what reason. Like, I don't think like it's about the government here. It's about like the border control when you are traveling probably. Because it's no surprise that people are doxing activists and stuff like that. But it's much bigger than the Malaysian government. Yeah. And I think fortunately I have traveled a lot, so I don't really care anymore. I notice a lot of people out there, they like to follow white people, like white leftist activists. And sadly, like some of their ideologies or their belief don't align with what Palestinian believe. Like, we have to remember, this is a Palestinian cause. Like, we must always center Palestinian. It's not about how you feel. It's about how Palestinians feel, how Palestinians think about this. And again, BDS is a Palestinian-led movement. So always listen to the victims. Always listen to Palestinians.